Every business wants good customer reviews. Every customer wants a good experience. So what happens when both sides click? Or in some cases, when they don't? From Yelp and Entrepreneur Media, this is Behind the Review.
Behind the review, dig deep into behind the review, get all the news, food, flowers, fixing, make business boom. Behind the review, dig deep into.
I'm Emily Washkovic, Yelp small business expert. Behind the Review features conversations with business owners and customers who wrote one of their Yelp reviews. In our discussions, we talk about lessons they've learned that can be used by other businesses to improve their own reviews and their bottom line. This week, I'm talking with Chris Hohenstein, the founder of City Tree Delivery, a local business dedicated to enhancing the holiday spirit by delivering trees directly to customers' doors. City Tree specializes in a hassle-free holiday experience for Chicago residents, and they've become synonymous with reliability and quality, embodying the festive spirit of the city during the winter season since they first opened back in 2009. We'll also hear from reviewer Ojus P. As a Yelp Elite, Ojus frequently uses Yelp to explore local businesses and share advice with other customers.
I have been using Yelp for a number of years, and a couple years ago, my wife and I decided that we wanted to toast Christmas. So we were thinking, okay, well, we live in the city of Chicago. We have this small car. How are we going to get a tree? Like, how's this going to work? And so we started doing some research and found that actually there's this great company called City Tree Delivery that actually will come to your house, deliver the tree, install it, clean up actually after themselves, help give you education on how you keep the tree alive, and then once they're done, they'll actually pick it up. And that was big for us too, both from a convenience standpoint of like why we have a small car, like we don't want to transport it, and then two, environmentally for us, like we looked into plastic trees and just like the footprint is much higher because a tree can be composted. So we were like, oh, this is amazing that they can just kind of like take care of everything for us.
Taking on the holidays as a host can be a lot of work. For Ojus and his family, City Tree Delivery was the perfect option to alleviate the chaos of decorating their home. Let's give his review a listen.
Hosted our family for Christmas for the first time, and this worked perfectly. They were able to deliver the tree stand, and lights, and then take them all back a few weeks later. The only item we had to buy was the tree mat, which wasn't strictly necessary since the tree stand does a good job of keeping water off your floor, and you need to sweep up every now and then no matter what. The tree is stored wrapped up, so it looks sad at first, but opens up over the next 48 hours, and then looks great. The delivery and pickups were both professional, masked, and on time. We got a 6 to 7 foot tree with 3 pairs of lights, which worked well. Next year, we'd like 1 foot bigger.
City Tree really takes all the work out of getting a Christmas tree for the holidays. I personally grew up with real trees and remember how fun it was to pick it out and get it decorated. But I've never had a real tree as an adult, partially because it's so much work. When you live in a big city like Chicago, the work is quite a bit more complicated. This was one of the main reasons CEO and owner Chris decided to start City Tree, but it was also with the foundational principle to combat tree waste.
I was working in a corporate job, and I always in public accounting, and I always had to throw my Christmas tree away in January because Chicago didn't have a great recycling program. And I just started kind of talking to my alderman, complained about the process. He told me how it worked and what I needed to do. And I started working with the City of Chicago and the Department of Environment under a recycling program. I got a grant from the City of Chicago to help expand the recycling program. And I worked with the Department of Environment for that. And I just wanted to solve the problem, like how could I recycle my tree? Because it bothered me that I had to throw my tree away. And then the next year, I was at KPMG and I got laid off during the financial crisis in 2008. And I was at an environmental breakfast. We were talking about a real tree versus a fake tree and the benefits. And it just came to me. I'm like, well, I had fun recycling Christmas trees. Why don't I do the whole supply chain? So I just thought through the process, buying local, getting a quality product, offering, good service, and I just kind of enjoyed it and grew it. So the first year, I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of figured it out, and then I got another full-time job a year or so later. And I didn't want to give up what I was doing because I enjoyed it, and I just kind of grew with it. And then over time, it took over, and it didn't really make sense to try to do both, but I really enjoyed the entrepreneurship side.
With a business like City Tree, the product and service are obviously very important. But maybe more important is the technology and systems Chris has put into place over the years to create that seamless ordering experience online. That's followed up with delivery communications that set expectations for the customer and allow the tree delivery team members to focus on the customer.
So customers come online, they pick the tree size, what accessories and options they want, and then at checkout they'll pick a delivery date, and then they get a window. So they'll get a window, it'll be, first shift, second shift, which is usually during the week. It's before 5 p.m. and after 5 p.m. And they also have the option to be flexible. And regardless, we're going to give the customer a 3-hour window and then call and notify the customer the day of and say, we're 3 houses away, we'll be there within the hour. Just so it seems like setting customer expectations, even if you're early or if you're late, what's important is communicating so the customer can go to the run to the grocery store, walk their dog, pick up their kid. And that's what we really aim for, is just communication with that the entire time. And then once the tree is delivered, we educate the customer. We have information where they can scan a QR code and learn about what tree care tips they need. And our delivery guys always want to educate the customer as well. So we just aim for a clear and consistent process the entire time.
And Chris's work to create this simple process has paid off. Ojus particularly appreciated City Tree Delivery's thoughtfulness to curate a personalized customer experience. As someone who didn't really know much about living Christmas trees, Ojus appreciated how easy it was to navigate the City Tree website. And even though they've changed their order over the years, the communication and transparency has made them repeat customers.
When we found City Tree Delivery, we were like, this is it. We didn't really do any competitive evaluation. And actually, funny enough, we've been using City Tree Delivery for a couple years. And this past year, we ordered a tree that was slightly cheaper, and then they actually delivered the more expensive tree of the two options because they're like, oh, the ones you had for your tree are like not as good. So we just upgraded you without telling you, which is great. We love that judgment. And for size, we actually weren't sure. So that was where we did a visual, this is what feels right, and ordered one. It actually felt small. So the next year, actually that was part of the Yelp, wrote a Yelp review. And then that's helpful. One of the reasons I write Yelp reviews is to be able to look back on hey, do I want to do this again? And what would I do differently? And so that was oh yeah, love City Tree Delivery, 5 stars, do it again. But order, instead of, I think we may have done 6-foot tree, instead order the 7-foot tree, because that really fills our space better. This isn't a trivial purchase. So the fact that we could go online, order it, see the cart, so you know exactly what we were buying, have it be purchased, get that confirmation receipt of this is what you've bought, all of that normal e-commerce practice that you just assume these days was just true. And so it's something you don't even think about when it's done right.
The customer experience has been a top priority for Chris and City Tree Delivery. His business model comes down to offering a simplified solution to make the holidays easier for customers, especially in such a hectic and expensive time.
We just really try to do the right thing and simplify the Christmas experience. The entire process comes down to, making it easy for the customer. At first I thought I was a Christmas company, but I realized quickly that it's more of a convenience company and solving that problem. You just want to offer a quality product, a positive customer, a seamless customer experience from start to finish. We want to set expectations. We're not necessarily the cheapest place, but I feel like we're fairly priced for what we offer. And we just want the customer, we're on the same side as the customer. I want the same thing. And if the customer doesn't experience that, we want to make it right and fix that.
Chris has been leveraging technology since the early days of City Tree. He's constantly evolving and simplifying. or adding features he appreciates when being a consumer himself.
I've always just wanted to simplify the process and find the best ways. Anytime Amazon has that nice little trackability feature. So when I find stuff like that, or just ways to get feedback and communicate quickly, I'm like, how can I bring that to my own business? And that's really replicating and streamlining stuff on there. I've never done a website before, but I'm like, well, this isn't getting done. I need to figure it out. And without any experience building websites, I just learned it and did the first iteration. And then I switched to a different platform that had a better customer experience. And now I've switched over to Shopify, and that's great for a small business. It's the technology and the ability to integrate or work really well. The text-to-chat software, I did that a couple of years back, and it just greatly reduced the call volume and the email. Like, customers don't necessarily, everyone hates waiting on hold forever and wondering. Making it easy to ask a question and just get a response in your phone, I think that makes it easy for everyone.
Technology has allowed Chris to have smooth communication with customers after their purchases too.
We do follow-ups now. We have an application that allows you to text the customer after their experience or feedback, and that's really helped get feedback and also follow up. And you can also send tree care tips that way as well, just to make sure to set expectations. And the use of links and QR codes and everything like that, I think that's gone a long way to help with the customer follow-up. We always ask employees to always, talk to the customer, try to understand, get any kind of feedback and communication with them during that time. And anything we get, we're obviously going to work with and try to go forward and work on or improve or, accept on there.
And you don't have to just use technology to talk to existing customers. Sometimes technology sets expectations before someone even becomes a customer, like on your website.
We've tried to simplify the website so it's a seamless experience, and they pick a product and they can get educated on it. And if they have questions, we have a text-to-chat option. They can always pick up the phone and call just for communication on there. We outline, what to expect, how to expect it, and we just try to follow through on that. Anytime someone gives us feedback, we always want to respond. We want to make sure the expectations are aligned with reality. A lot of the time, some of our smaller trees that people are expecting something much bigger, so we're trying to set expectations by putting a silhouette next to the sample tree to set expectations. Sometimes people order, a 5 to 6 foot tree, and they're expecting it to be much bigger than it really is, and just necessarily like the width and the girth of a tree when it's growing. In order to get the correct shape, or the shape and the size that everyone is expecting, they have to grow each year, and that's also dependent on things like Mother Nature. The weather conditions can impact the whole industry. It's not unique to our business. So one thing I do to set expectations is I'll go out and look. Once trees are delivered, I'll go out and look at other trees in Chicago just to make sure that what we're offering is comparable to what other people have as well.
Beyond the quality of trees Chris sources, he knows that the way his team treats customers and their homes is equally important. And Ojus noticed those extra steps too. Plus, the delivery team who brought his tree made sure he wasn't let down with how the tree initially looked, knowing that it would definitely fill out.
We could go on a website, we can order a tree, a real tree, have that tree be delivered to our place in this kind of low friction, easy way. And then once they're done, they'll pick it up. The things that they did that we didn't expect that were nice delight moments was just like the service level, where they came and they were very thoughtful about where they were wearing shoes or not, and if we minded that in our home. Or once they put in the tree, warning us like, yeah, no, this looks sad, but it'll open up, it's okay. So like setting that expectation, and then telling us like, okay, here's the watering instructions of how often you should water the tree to keep it alive. And maximize. It's kind of, okay, yeah, like today is whatever the 20th, and so your event is on the 25th, so maybe it'll actually like be great by that date, and so make sure to keep watering it so it stays in good shape, and then we're going to come pick it up at the end. So I think they just were very clear and professional throughout. So honestly, there was no real change year over year, but there didn't need to be.
The communication doesn't stop there, though. With any kind of conflict or issue involving customers or even employees, Chris prioritizes communication before, during, and after the entire order process.
I think caring and doing the right thing, I think that's what separates a good business from just any business. If you truly care and you show you care and you're willing to rectify the situation within reason, I think that kind of separates a good business from any business. And there's plenty of great businesses, but I'm just not willing to take a shortcut just for the sake of taking a shortcut. And a lot of the time, that's one challenge is you're managing people, and I know what to do. I know how to do it, and I want to educate and get everyone to be on the same page. And it's creating that culture and the atmosphere, empowering the employee to do that and making sure that's done. And it's really frustrating when, for example, employees are running behind, so they're rushing something and they take a shortcut and they leave a trail of needles in the hallway because the bag leaked a little bit when they were hauling the tree away. It's frustrating because, I mean, that's a simple solution and it should have never happened. It's predictable, it's plannable, and, you can call a customer and say, I'm running late. And again, if you're communicating, it's not a big deal. They don't care. They care when you're already late and then you call to say you're going to be later. If you're running late and you communicate, in the beginning of the day, we're behind schedule today. We told you 3 to 6, but it's probably going to be more like 4 to 7, or communicating the entire time changes everything. When you call at 6 o'clock or even 5:30 and say, I'm running late, they've already been sitting around waiting for you for 3 hours to show up, and they're not happy about that. If you tell them before your window that you're running late, guess what? They can go walk their dog. They can do whatever they want, and they're not upset. It's communicating after the fact that there's a problem. So, it's frustrating when there's an issue. I'm like, why did that ever happen to begin with? And you can solve it. It's frustrating to have those kind of complaints because it's like you want to control it, but you're limited to the power of what other people are doing. So I think in that situation, it's best to just foster an environment where just simplify the process. And they don't need to call me and ask, what should I do? I mean, the question is, what should we do for the customer to make it right? I mean, that's the answer I'm going to give them. That's the answer they should give. Empowering the employee to make that decision with the thought of the customer, within reason. And it's not the customer is always right, but the customer is always the focus.
We're going to be right back after a quick break. You're a growing business, which means you need every spare hour you can find. That's why the most successful growing businesses are working together in Slack. Slack is where work happens, with all your people, data, and information in one AI-powered place. Start a call instantly in huddles and ditch cumbersome calendar invites. Or build an automation with Workflow Builder to take routine tasks off your plate. No coding required. Grow your business in Slack. Visit slack.com to get started. One of the reasons why City Tree has become a local favorite is because of Chris's original mission: sustainability and less waste.
One thing that's really important to us is the supply chain. We try to do zero waste and use everything we sell. I'll take the branches and the clippings we use and we make wreaths and garland out of it. We'll compost the tree cuttings or whatever. Or I take them home and put them in my backyard and we use them in our fire pit at the end of the year. We do carbon offsets and work with other communities on there. But when I was talking to one vendor, I went to a tree lot, I'm like, oh, what do you do with your leftovers? They're like, oh, we take them back to Iowa and put them in a dumpster. So just the difference of being a good steward of business and customers and the supply chain, I think, goes a long way. And one thing that separates us from other people, and just, I guess, consistency and being fair, I think that plays a big part of the business too, and the success. And I used to think, well, why doesn't everyone do this? I don't know. I don't think a lot of people care enough to follow through and see it through. And I think that's the difference between a successful business and a business that kind of staggers or stutters or closes down or whatever.
Customers like Ojus have noticed this impact and want to support businesses that are mindful and aware of the impact they carry, no matter how small or local they are.
Just as a human in 2024, the world is not, from a climate perspective, in an ideal place. And so just wanting to be a good citizen, to be like, what is our role here? And so just trying to be mindful. If we're flying, like, do we really need to fly? If we're buying something, do we really need to buy it? Or if we do want to buy it, what's the right way to do it for us? And so, yeah, this tree was just another of those examples, but just physically a little larger, where we wanted to make a purchase in a way that honored our family and family traditions while doing it kind of mindfully about the environmental impact.
And that sustainability plays a role in not just the tree, but also accessories to the tree. Chris explains how add-ons work in his business.
In the beginning, we used to offer multiple different types of lights and multiple different SKUs, and I learned it's simpler. You just want to offer one quality multicolor option, one quality white option. I mean, there's too much paralysis in having too many options. As far as the rental, I was working with a theater company that was in town for the holidays, and they wanted to get trees and offer a holiday experience for their staff. And I realized they weren't going to be here, and I didn't want them to just buy the product and throw it away, or I wanted to find something that worked, and I just came up with why don't they just deliver it to you and then pick it up afterwards? And it seemed like a win-win for everyone, and it works great for people in apartments and condos, people who just don't want to deal with storing stuff. I mean, we all have limited space, especially in the city, and it's a perfect option. I mean, I'd rather rent it and take it back, especially if they don't even know they're going to have a tree the following year, and make it easy and convenient than offer it and just, I'm not using this, let me throw it away, and I'll buy another one when I need it. I wanted to provide a solution to the disposable society.
That was a surprise, too, that not only would they supply the tree, but then we want lights, of course, to decorate the tree. And so the fact that they were willing to rent us that was just like a really nice little addition. We weren't sure if this is a thing we want to keep doing. So the ability for us to rent it, have them use it, and then for us to give it back, let somebody else use it down the road, it was great and really nice convenience for us.
I mean, it makes sense. No one wants to store hundreds of lights and a tree in a packed house or apartment in the city. But the holidays aren't complete without the sparkle and colorful lights. So that's been a hit for City Tree Delivery. Chris helps his customers to be more sustainable while also providing convenience and making some extra money on the transaction. It's a win-win, win-win. I asked Chris about owning a seasonal business and how he and his family function when the holidays are over.
This used to be kind of a second, like I was working a full-time job and doing this on the side, and I realized that it was too hard to do. Like, I was going to school, we were having a baby, I was working another job, and I realized you can't do a million things and do them all well, and it just made sense to focus on what I really enjoyed. It works out where I'm really busy for a few months of the year, and the rest of the year I have the balance to take care of different things around the house, take care of the kids, work when, focus on the family and other priorities. It really helps. My wife's got a full-time job, so that kind of helps with benefits and other things year round. But from an entrepreneur perspective, I mean, I've thought of developing other products. I've looked into other service offerings and other complementary businesses. I mean, what I'm really selling is convenience, quality, convenience, and reliability with Christmas. There's a lot of different other offerings that you could include the rest of the year with the same customer base.
Ojus understands the struggles of a small local business, especially one like Chris, where customer support builds momentum and drives sales. So he writes reviews to show that support.
Supporting local businesses is important because just being a small business, being a restaurant, the failure rates are really high. And so if you have a good experience, it's just so exciting and motivating to be able to get more, to celebrate what they've done and give them that moment of pride, because I know all businesses check their Yelp reviews, all the reviews, to be like, how am I doing? Well, I want to give them that positive feedback just to celebrate them, but also to help other people discover them. I review primarily restaurants, but now increasingly other options as well that provide value to me. The reason I review mostly is for my future self. I want to know, one, should I come back here? And two, if I do come back, like, what should I do? What did I do last time? Did I like it? Do it again? What do I want to do differently? I do appreciate when it's helpful to other people as well, like a member of the community. Like, I appreciate seeing all these reviews, so the only way those happen is if someone's doing the work. So again, like, what's my role? I think there's times where I review really well and give like 5 stars, things that are pretty good, 4 stars, and then when things are bad, I am very willing to give lower scores too, give that feedback so the business can improve.
When Ojus writes his reviews, he keeps other customers in mind. He likes to think about common concerns and questions to give honest and tangible advice.
I guess I think from a customer, because I'm a product manager, I think about the customer journey. And so it's like, when are you going to look at Yelp reviews? And it's probably like, oh, I'm in the discovery evaluation stage. Like, should I do this? So is it good? And did you have a good experience? And then I think for other times, it's like when I get stuck. So it's like, for example, hey, I bought a protein powder and I couldn't figure out how to open it. So then I was looking at reviews for like, what do people do? So I think knowing somebody probably will look for city tree delivery when they're thinking about buying a tree or renting a tree, but also when they're, oh no, like my tree looks really sad. And if the delivery person was in a rush and didn't say that, they might be like, oh wait, are these like, why are the reviews so good if my tree looks so bad? And so then hopefully my review saying like, it looks sad, like alleviates that concern for them.
Of course, every business is bound to face some critical reviews. For Chris, though, criticism can lead to improvement.
I think all reviews are really important. It's really helpful to get the customer's perspective. Some of the ones I find the most fun and the most challenging are when you take a negative experience and turn it positive. And sometimes it's setting customer expectation. Sometimes it's we messed up and owning it and making it right. We're not perfect. If someone notifies us there's a problem, we're going to, within reason, respond to that. If someone's disrespectful and rude and they're just not wanting to interact, I mean, there's not much you can really do. But if you make your mistake, own it. And if there's a reason why something happened, explaining it. It comes down to education with that. One customer this year, they got a tree. They wrote this nasty email. I spent this on this, and I can't believe, this is terrible. I don't know where your reviews are coming from. And I looked at their order, and they bought a small tree. And to the point earlier, certain trees don't fill out. Like a Fraser fir doesn't grow. It's a slow-growing tree. So if you get a 5 to 6 foot Fraser fir, it's not going to be a good, single-family home room filler. It's just the expectations aren't there. So I emailed the customer right away, and I'm like, I'm sorry about your experience. Let me see what we can do. I'd love to offer you a tree. We always work with the customer if they're willing to work with us. We'll do a tree swap. I'm not necessarily going to refund it, but I'm going to educate someone. And one of the things I also learned is being responsive. I always have a million things going on, and I didn't always respond live. And one thing I've really taken into consideration is responding to every review at this point. I try not to do a generic thanks. I mean, I try to read the review and respond relating to that review, if that makes sense.
Customers like Ojus like to hear from businesses because it's a direct response to acknowledge their thanks.
It is quite common for businesses to reach out to me. I think often if it's a 5-star experience, they just say thanks. And so that's kind of the end. It's like, great, I'm glad. Sometimes when I give a lower rating, I definitely get feedback of like, hey, would love to know how we can improve.
Responding to reviews can show a happy customer you're grateful for their feedback, and a critical customer that you care about their experience and want to improve. But most importantly, responding to reviews allows you to reflect your customer service practices for all future consumers to see. And that's why you want to respond publicly in a professional manner. And that concludes our episode. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to take a thing or two away to implement in your own life. Whether it's a new idea that you can bring back to your business or a fresh perspective on how to be a positive influence as a consumer, we share these stories to inspire and create more meaningful connections in your local community.
Behind the review, dig deeper too. Behind the review, get all the news. Food, flowers, fixing, make business boom. Behind the review, dig deeper too.
This episode featured a conversation with Chris Hohenstein, the founder of City Tree Delivery, and Ojus P, a Yelp Elite living in Chicago. Special thanks to Charlotte Che, who helped write this episode. To learn more about the story, head to yelp.com/behind the review and check out the guest details and episode takeaways. And don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform so you get an alert each Thursday that we drop a new episode. To claim your own Yelp business page and start engaging with consumers, visit business.yelp.com. Our theme song is performed by Ali Schwartz and produced by Robbie G of Messerol Sound.